Hi, my name is Ken Cutbush. I'd like to talk to you about the risks associated with having your clavicle fracture fixed. So an open reduction and internal fixation of a clavicle fracture, commonly known as an ORIF. So what we're talking about is a clavicle fracture. This is a distal third clavicle fracture. It's been fixed with a small distal plate. This is a more common mid-shaft clavicle fracture fixed with a plate as well. You can see the little bone, comminuted bone fragment under the surface of it. And they're typical examples of me fixing a clavicle fracture. What I tell people is there's always a risk of infection when we do an operation. For a clavicle fracture, probably around 1% for me. The plates themselves are designed to be anatomically contoured. They're specifically made for the clavicle, so they don't normally need to be removed. And probably maybe 5% of the clavicle plates need to be removed for some issue or other. We wouldn't remove them unless they needed to be removed. Wound issues, little infections or DVTs, hematomas, blood clots, all those sort of things can happen, but are very rare. You have an anaesthetic, of course, and that needs to be thought of. There is a risk with any anaesthetic you have. Frozen shoulder is rare, associated with clavicle fractures, but can happen. If you get frozen shoulder, it will resolve and go away, but can be a bit miserable until it does. And when you're fixing a clavicle fracture, be aware the main nerves and arteries and vessels down to your arm come underneath the clavicle. Anytime we've got a drill and screws, hardware around a clavicle fracture, there is a risk of injuring or involving those structures, and just that's something to think of. It's extremely rare, something to consider. Let's put some science behind this. Honong et al. Published in the Journal of Shoulder and Elbow Surgery in 2024, a scientific review looking at multiple studies. They looked at 45 studies, a total of 842 clavicle fractures. If you'd like to look at the paper, if you scan that QR code, it will take you to the paper itself. They found a rate of non-union, so the clavicle not joining up, of 3%. That's pretty good. Hardware failure, so problems with the screws or plate, around 5%. Irritation related to the hardware or the plates, 11%. And fracture-related infection, 0.4% to 7.8%, somewhere in that range. 7.8% I'd say would be very, very high. I would say less than 1% would be realistic. Now, I hope that gives you some idea of the risks associated with having your clavicle fracture fixed, and hopes to give you some understanding of it. Thank you for listening.